This week's breakdown will be pretty quick because we're covering the Achilles, and I think of the Achilles very simply. So we're going to break this into 3 parts. First, I'll show you the impact on it and how the Achilles is normally hurt. Then second, I'll show you the lowest level so anyone can start training this. And third, I'll show you how I train it now. So if we look at that Achilles, one way people hurt it is when they apply a significant amount of force. So here's a light amount of force, boom. The other way people hurt is a big drop of force, boom. So now let's look at that landing right there in slow motion. So you'll see my foot hit, and then you'll see that to jump back your highest, you don't just stay like this. That force slams in, boom. Now, when that knee goes over the toe, it really loads into the Achilles. So let's look at how we can train this. Now in parts 2 and 3, we're gonna look at 3 different exercises for really the same quality, which is that when you do a standing calf raise with your legs straight, you emphasize more the upper calf muscle, whereas when you get into a bent knee calf raise, you emphasize more the lower, deeper calf muscle called the soleus. The difference is that the soleus is closer to your Achilles, and the soleus has the strongest pull pound for pound of any muscle, which is not surprising since your Achilles tendon is the largest, strongest tendon in your body. A tendon is something that holds your muscles to the bones. So we don't want that Achilles to be agitated or tear off the bone, and our number one way of preventing that is training the soleus. This is the lowest level because you're not lifting your body or machinery. There's seated calf machines and there's KOT calf raises, which I'll show you, where you're lifting your own body weight and you would hold 3 weights. But this is really helpful if you want to train grandma or grandpa who doesn't feel like starting that, or someone rehabbing. So this is the lightest amount of weight we can get into that motion, and then you could gradually add load. And what's really cool is this is still a unilateral exercise, meaning each side is working independently just as hard. We're often very imbalanced due to past injuries, whether it be to the ankle or the Achilles, or not realizing that we have a certain leg that we land or jump off more than the other. So we want to, wherever we're at now, we want to get both up and evenly. So why not just stay with this forever? Why not just keep loading? Well, for my intents and purposes, this wasn't convenient to get enough load, meaning even if I add, say my dumbbell set here goes up to 80 pounds per side, so 160 pounds. It's actually still not that much load if we compare to what I would experience on a seated calf machine with greater ease of use, or the KOT calf raise with greater ease of use, which we'll look at. And that is when we go to a seated calf machine, we're now lifting the machinery itself, and you'll notice you're lifting your own bum, you're lifting some of your own body weight itself when you do seated calf raises. The thing to note with the seated calf raise is it's no longer a unilateral exercise. So I actually spend half the year seated calf machine training one side at a time. I actually feel like the KOT calf raise may be better all around, but the seated calf machine was part of my journey as well. And I like to stay true to the process, even if it means just being a little more conservative in the approach. So half the year for me, seated calf machine, but now the other half of the year, I live what it's like to train from home. This is a $150 squat rack, $25 rings. I don't feel comfortable telling someone you have to buy a seated calf machine. And it was for that reason, being an online coach and trying to figure out how do I get people to really develop the soleus smoothly without a seated calf machine. So we're essentially in part 3 right now of explaining how I currently approach bulletproofing my Achilles. And now we'll look at the final piece of that with the KOT calf raise. So the knees over toes calf raise is pretty dang scalable because at the lowest level, you would have just going to whatever was completely pain-free on your knees and flexing up from there. So you have 2 legs and you're lifting your body. Now, when that gets easy for high repetitions, just think how much more load it is to rebuild on one leg, same exercise. So the connection here of having your knee and ankle both working, developing patellar tendon and Achilles tendon at the same time, that's why I think this might be the single most smoothly scalable and most beneficial in terms of bulletproofing the body. When I added these into my program, I was finally able to accomplish something I'd been trying to, which is the ability to jump high enough to dunk and land on one leg with no pain in my Achilles. So that's my dedication, is this concept of bulletproofing reserve. I want to simply train in a way that I get so much more bulletproofing than I even need for the tasks I'm doing in life. So currently I've been testing putting the wedge in there just to really lock in that ankle stretch. This happens to be the load I'm using this week. You can see my magnets. This is 52.5 pounds. And so I'm getting in there in that nice position. I even feel that big toe at the top. So at least it's pretty neat that, and again, it's not like you need that. So with cheap rubber door stopper, essentially, is what my ATG buddy is, but bigger, and just free weights and my own body weight, I can get world-class levels of Achilles bulletproofing reserve. So I hope this video was helpful to make the Achilles simpler, not just in terms of how it works and how to protect it, but how to actually apply the data. Really appreciate those of you who watch these longer videos. Let me know what to cover next week, as this was a direct answer to those of you asking about the Achilles.